Golden hour light streamed through the auto shop's open bay door. Charlotte Westfield stood in her silk blouse and burgundy leather skirt, completely out of place among the grease and tools. At 35, she was CEO of Westfield Technologies, worth over $200 million, and currently stranded because her luxury car had broken down on the highway. A mechanic emerged from under a truck, muscular, covered in grease stains, wearing worn overalls. He looked up and did a double take at the sight of her. "Can I help you?" he asked, wiping his hands on a rag. "My car broke down about 2 miles from here. The tow truck brought it. They said you're the best mechanic in town." "That's generous. I'm decent." He smiled, and Charlotte noticed he had kind eyes. "I'm Jake Sullivan. Let me take a look." Charlotte followed him to where her Mercedes sat. Jake popped the hood and started examining the engine with practiced efficiency. "You're not from around here," Jake observed. "Just passing through on my way to a work thing." Charlotte wasn't sure why she didn't mention it was a board meeting. "How long will the repair take?" "Parts need to be ordered. Maybe 3 days?" 3 days? Charlotte's mind raced through her schedule. The board meeting, the investor dinner, the merger negotiation. All of it happening this weekend 2 hours away, and all of it requiring her to appear successful, powerful, and definitely not stranded in a small town. Is that a problem? Charlotte made a split-second decision born of desperation and exhaustion from years of corporate pressure. "Actually, I need a favor." "A huge, probably inappropriate favor." Jake raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening. I need to attend several events this weekend. Business events. I was supposed to go alone, but showing up alone makes me look—" She paused. "I need a date. Someone who can pretend to be my boyfriend for the weekend. I'll pay you whatever you want." Jake stared at her. "You want to hire me as a fake boyfriend?" "I know it sounds insane, but I'm desperate. The events are all about perception and power dynamics, and I—" Charlotte stopped, realizing how this sounded. "Never mind. This was stupid. Just fix my car. How much?" Jake asked. "What?" "How much would you pay me to be your fake boyfriend for the weekend?" Charlotte named a figure that made Jake's eyes widen. More than he'd make in 3 months. "That's insane," Jake said. "That's what I'm offering. 3 days. You'd need to clean up, wear nice clothes I'll provide, and pretend to be dating me at some business functions. Nothing inappropriate. Just arm candy who makes me look less lonely." Jake studied her. "Why me? You could hire a professional escort or something." "Because you're real," Charlotte said honestly. "Everyone at these events is polished and fake. You're genuine. And honestly, you're attractive enough that people will believe I'm dating you." That might be the weirdest compliment I've ever received. "Is that a yes?" Jake looked at his small auto shop, then at this beautiful, clearly desperate woman offering him more money than he'd seen in months. "Okay, but I have conditions." "Name them." "I won't lie about who I am. I'm a mechanic. I'm proud of that. I'll dress up and play along, but I won't pretend to be something I'm not." Charlotte felt something shift in her chest. Respect. Deal. The transformation was remarkable. Charlotte took Jake to an expensive store, had him fitted for a tailored suit, got him to a barber. When he emerged cleaned up, Charlotte barely recognized him. He was genuinely handsome, rugged but refined. "I feel like a fraud," Jake said, tugging at his collar. "You look perfect," Charlotte assured him. On the drive to the first event, a cocktail party with investors, Charlotte briefed Jake on the basics. "Just stay close, look interested when I talk business, and be polite." "What do I say when people ask what I do?" "Tell them the truth. You own an auto repair business." The party was full of wealthy people in expensive clothes, all networking aggressively. Charlotte felt Jake tense beside her as they entered. "Relax," she whispered. "You belong here as much as anyone." But Jake surprised her. While the other guests talked about portfolios and market trends, Jake asked genuine questions. He was curious about people's lives, not their money. He made an elderly investor laugh with a story about fixing a vintage Mustang. He chatted with a CEO's wife about her garden. "You're good at this," Charlotte whispered during a quiet moment. "I'm just being myself. Turns out rich people are just people. Who knew?" The next event was a formal dinner. Charlotte watched Jake navigate multiple forks with only brief confusion, saw him hold doors for people. Noticed how he listened when others talked instead of waiting for his turn to speak. "Your boyfriend is refreshing," a board member told Charlotte. "Most men here are trying to network. He actually seems interested in people." "He is," Charlotte said, realizing it was true. On the third day, the most important investor meeting, Jake did something unexpected. When a condescending investor made a dismissive comment about Charlotte's proposal, Jake spoke up. "With respect, sir, I think you're missing the point. Charlotte isn't suggesting this because it's easy. She's suggesting it because it's right. Sometimes the best business decisions aren't about immediate profit. They're about long-term integrity." The room went silent. Then the investor nodded slowly. "You're right." "I apologize." After the meeting, Charlotte pulled Jake aside. "You didn't have to do that." He was being disrespectful. "I'm supposed to be your boyfriend, right? Boyfriends defend their partners." Charlotte felt something crack in her carefully maintained professional armor. "Thank you." That evening, their last night before returning to reality, they had dinner alone. "I should tell you something," Charlotte admitted. "I didn't just need a date. I needed someone who'd make me look good. I've been so focused on being a CEO that I forgot how to be human. This weekend, watching you just be yourself, be kind without expecting anything in return, it reminded me what I've been missing." "What's that?" "Authenticity. Everyone in my world is performing all the time. You just exist. You're comfortable with who you are. I envy that." "I'm a mechanic who wears overalls and fixes cars," Jake said. "You're a CEO who runs a tech company. But this weekend you weren't a CEO. You were Charlotte, and I liked Charlotte more than I expected to." "I was Charlotte because you made me feel safe being her." They looked at each other across the table, the fake relationship suddenly feeling very real. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "I go back to my shop. You go back to your company?" That was the agreement. "What if I don't want that?" Charlotte's heart raced. "You're saying you want to actually date me? The CEO you were hired to fake date? I'm saying I want to get to know Charlotte outside of business events and expensive hotels. The real Charlotte. If she exists..." "She does," Charlotte said. "She's just been buried under business suits and board meetings for a long time." Over the following months, Charlotte and Jake built something real. He taught her to change a tire. She taught him about tech innovations. He brought authenticity to her corporate world. She brought ambition to his steady life. "Everyone asks how we met," Charlotte said one evening. "What do you tell them?" "That my car broke down and I found exactly what I'd been missing." A year after that desperate proposal in an auto shop, Jake proposed for real, not with an expensive ring, but with one he'd designed himself, incorporating a small gear from the car he'd been working on the day they met. "I was hired as a fake boyfriend," Jake said, "paid to make you look good at business events. But I stayed because you let me see the real you, not the CEO, but the woman who was so desperate for genuine connection that she hired a mechanic to pretend to care." "I don't have to pretend anymore, Charlotte." "I do care. I love you. Will you be my real girlfriend, then my fiancée, then my wife?" At their wedding, Charlotte told their story to laughing guests. "I was stranded with a broken car and a desperate need for a date," she explained. "I offered a mechanic an absurd amount of money to pretend to be my boyfriend for a weekend. He agreed, but he did something unexpected. He didn't pretend. He was himself, completely and authentically. That honesty, that refusal to perform, it changed how I saw everything. Success isn't about appearing powerful. It's about being real," Jake added. "She hired me to be fake. I couldn't do it. I'm not good at pretending, so I just showed up as myself, a mechanic in an expensive suit, completely out of my depth. Turns out that's exactly what she needed. Not someone to perform, but someone to just be real with her." Years later, they'd tell people about the weekend that changed everything. "I hired him," Charlotte would say. "Paid him to pretend to care about me for 3 days." "She thought she was hiring an actor," Jake would add. "She got a mechanic who couldn't act if his life depended on it."